Good morning, boys and girls. I'm so glad to see you this morning. I'm coming to you from a very special place. This is the Camp Kum-Ba-Yah Community Garden. And actually, it's right across the street from my house. So you can get mom and dad to bring you, and we can even sit here on the picnic table and have a picnic and see the garden and all the vegetables in the garden. Today I'm going to be reading some poems to you from A Child's Garden of Verse by Robert Louis Stevenson. This book is so old that I had it when I was a little girl, and my grandmother used to read the poems in this book to me. So this is one of my favorite childhood books, and I want to share some of the poems that were my favorites with you. The first one is called Bed in Summer. Of course, we're getting close to summertime, so let's see what this poem says. In winter, I get up at night, because you remember in wintertime, the daylight saving times is off and we get up and it's really dark. So in winter, I get up at night and dress by yellow candlelight. In summer, quite the other way, I have to go to bed by day. So when you go to bed now at night, it's probably still light outside. I have to go to bed and see the birds still hopping on the tree, or hear the grown-up people's feet still going past me on the street. And does it not seem hard to you when all the sky is clear and blue, and I should like so much to play, to have to go to bed by day? So this little girl's looking out the window and she's wishing she could be outside playing. So that is Bed in Summer. Now the next one is called Foreign Lands. And this little boy is climbing up a tree and he's pretending that when he looks out from the tree, he can see lands far, far away. Foreign lands. Up into the cherry tree, who should climb but little me? I held the trunk with both my hands and looked abroad on foreign lands. So can you see him up the tree, and he's looking way away. I saw the next door garden lie, adorned with flowers before my eye, and many places pleasant more that I have never seen before. I saw the dimpling river pass and be the sky's blue looking glass, because the river is blue, and it's such a clear blue river that he said it looks like a looking glass. The dusty roads go up and down with people tramping into town. Tramping's another word for walking into town. If I could find a higher tree, farther and farther I should see, to where the grown-up rivers slip into the sea among the ships. To where the roads on either hand lead onward into fairyland, where all the children dine at 5, which means they eat at 5, and all the playthings come alive. So he's got a wonderful imagination as he looks off into the distance and pretends he's seeing all sorts of things. All right, the next one is called Pirate Story. And this is children just absolutely, positively using their imagination, because all they're really doing is sitting in a basket in the middle of a field. 3 of us afloat in the meadow by the swing, 3 of us aboard in the basket on the lee. Winds are in the air, they are blowing in the spring, and waves are in the meadow like the waves there are at sea. Where shall we adventure? Today we're afloat, wary of the weather and steering by a star. Shall it be to Africa, a steering of the boat, to Providence or Babylon, or off to Malabar? So they really are using their imaginations, going all sorts of places. Hi, but here's a squadron a-rowing on the sea, cattle in the meadow a-charging with a roar. Quick, we'll escape them, they're as mad as they can be. The wicket is the harbor, and the garden is the shore. So they figured out being out in that meadow where the cows were was probably not the safest place to be, but they had fun while they were able to imagine that it was a wonderful place. All right, the next one is called My Shadow. But see how many wonderful stories there are in here? I'll have to do some more from this another day. My shadow. Can you tell the light must be back here because it's shining? So here's the puppy dog and here's the kitty cat, and their shadows are going just from this little boy. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. So in other words, it's there, but he can't do anything with him. He can't play with him. He just is there. He's very, very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an Indian rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. And we know at nighttime and on a cloudy day we don't have a shadow, but when the sun's out we do. He hasn't got a notion of how children ought to play, and can only make a fool of me in every sort of way. He stays so close beside me, he's a coward you can see. I think shame to stick to Nursey as that shadow sticks to me. So in other words, he's saying, this shadow won't leave me. He sticks to me very close. And when he says Nursey, he's talking about like his babysitter, somebody who'd be taking care of him. And he would be embarrassed to stick too close to his Nursey, but the shadow's not embarrassed to stick too close to him. One morning very early, before the sun was up, so okay, before the sun was up means it was dark, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. And there's buttercups here in the field outside the garden. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepyhead, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. Because remember, if it was before the sun came up, there was no shadow. There we go. All right. Escape at bedtime. Ooh, how many of you have tried to escape once mom and dad put you in bed, read your story, tuck you in, say your prayers, and kiss you and leave the room? Escape at bedtime. The lights from the parlor and kitchen shone out through the blinds and the windows and bars. And high overhead and all moving about, there were thousands of millions of stars. There are never so much thousands of leaves on a tree, nor are people in church or the park, as the crowds of the stars that looked down upon me and that glittered and winked in the dark. And that's one of the great things about this park. When my little girl was little, we'd come over here and we put a blanket out and we would be able to look up at the sky because there's no lights over here and there's no trees, and we could look at the stars and find the different constellations. And that was always something so much fun for the two of us when she was little. Okay, so the sky full of glittery, winking, blinking stars. The dog and the plow and the hunter are all up there. They're constellations. They're names for the constellations. And the star of the sailor and Mars. And I saw on Facebook yesterday that 2 of the planets are going to align with the moon, and it's going to make it look like a smiley face. So we're going to have to look for that in the next couple of days. They saw me at last, and they chased me with cries, and they soon had me packed back into bed. But the glory kept shining and bright in my eyes, and the stars going round in my head. So see the little girl looking out her window, and the thousands of stars up above her bed. All right. How about marching song? Look at the boys and girls. They formed a parade. And this little girl has a great big hat on, and she's blowing on a comb. I wonder what kind of sound that would make. And this little boy has a broom, and he is going to march with the broom. Now I wonder what he's pretending that broom is. And this little boy has a paper sailboat hat, and he's on the drum. And this little boy is bringing up the back like the flag corps. Let's see what the marching song is. Bring the comb and play upon it. So that's what the little girl's doing. Marching, here we come. Willie cocks his Highland bonnet. Johnny beats the drum. So this is the little girl with the comb. This is the little boy with his Highland bonnet. I guess he's wearing something from Scotland. And then Johnny beats on the drum. This is Mary Jane. Mary Jane commands the party, and Peter leads the rear. Feet in time, alert and hearty, each a grenadier. All in the most martial manner, marching double quick, while the napkin like a banner waves upon the stick. So this is not really a flag, it's a napkin that they put on the stick. Here's enough of fame and pillage, Commander Jane. Now that we've been around the village, let's go home again. All right, this is the fabulous field, and this is the gate into the garden. Let's talk about what some of the plants are. This is still a work in progress because you know it's still not completely time to plant things. We're even supposed to have a freeze tonight, so we got to be very careful with our plants tonight. This right here is parsley, and parsley is good with all sorts of different kinds of foods. And over here, one of my favorites is mint. And all you have to do is touch the mint, rub it with your fingers. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like chewing gum. But you know, a lot of grown-ups like to have mint in their tea. That's a very southern thing. And I was telling my sister-in-law the other day, you can actually freeze mint. You take a stalk and you roll it up in cellophane, and you take another one and you roll it up and you keep rolling and you freeze it. And then in the wintertime, you can unroll it a little bit, get a stem, put it in with your tea, and you have mint in the wintertime. Here's the next part of the garden. These are marigolds, and these are great plants to repel animals. The animals don't like the smell of the marigolds, so it's very wise to have them around the beans. Now, even though we have a tall fence here that hopefully the deer can't get over, the groundhogs and the squirrels can get in, and they can create a lot of trouble. Now here we have beans. And this is a bamboo pole, and that bean is just going to wrap itself around the pole and grow, and then eventually we'll have beans that we can harvest from our garden. Now, one of my favorite vegetables is beets. I don't like them warm and cooked. I like pickled beets, cold, and that's my favorite kind of beet. But if you look at this little plant closely, there's a red stem on it, and that tells me that this is eventually going to be a beet. Now the beet is going to grow below ground, so all we're going to see with the beets is the leaves, but eventually we will have beets that we can pull and make pickled beets. And these are potatoes. Now I know that most of you have studied potatoes enough to know that they also grow below ground. And once the plant gets big enough, you'll be able to see just a little bit of the beet on top, and then when you pull it, you'll have, I'm sorry, I said beet, didn't I? This is potato. I gotta keep my vegetables straight, boys and girls. This is potato. So the potatoes grow, and then we can have mashed potatoes, we can have French fries, we can do all sorts of fun things with potatoes. And these are all sorts of leafy vegetables. And we had to put this wiring over the vegetables because the groundhog and the squirrels were getting in and eating them. So this is going to protect them from the groundhogs and the squirrels. And this is some leafy lettuce, some red lettuce, and there's even some kale down in here. So all sorts of good vegetables, the healthy foods. And if you're in my preschool, you've talked about red food, yellow food, and green food. Red food is food that we don't eat a whole lot of. Yellow food is okay every now and then. And green food are your fruits and vegetables that are so good for you. So this is definitely a green food. We have some more lettuce here. This is a different kind of lettuce. And these are onions. And look at this. Oh man, we have carrots coming here. And carrots, another vegetable that grows below ground. And once it's harvested, then we can have our carrots to dip in. What do you dip yours in? I dip mine in ranch dressing. But carrots are good in so many different things. So these are carrots coming. And these are more potatoes coming. So I think we've just about covered most of the things here in the garden. Well, let's see. I believe we have tomatoes coming here. Oh, and look, they've already got flowers on them. So with the bloom on the tomato, we will eventually have tomatoes. Ooh, I've seen some beautiful tomato plants over in this garden in years past. So they're going to have a nice wire around them so that when they grow up, they can stay contained and we can take good care of them. And if necessary, there's poles here that we can string them across to keep them safe. And I do see something else interesting over here. I bet you nails like this, they're going to string strings across here, and they're going to have these beans growing up and going across the strings. So we'll have more beans over here. So lots of things, and there's still empty spots where they haven't worked yet to get the garden to grow. So come see me, and we'll come over and sit on the picnic table and have a picnic lunch, and you can see all the plants up close. Have a good day. Until next time, mwah, love you.